What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Now, I am very pumped for today's video because usually I do like a basic training video or a how-to video or a summoning session, but today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to walk you through what rune you should make from the new Runecrafting event. Now, before we dive in, I want to start by saying that Com2Us does various runecrafting events throughout the year. So if you're watching this and you're like, hey, it's not May 2020 anymore, that's okay. If you're in a runecrafting event right now, this information will still apply. So we're actually going to go into the event and we're going to go into the Legendary Blacksmith event, which is a runecrafting event that's happening right now. And I kind of just want to walk you through how to figure out what kind of rune you should be making. So the first thing is when you select the type of rune, you want to think about where you're at in the game. So I'll link it up in the description below, but you want to figure out where are you progressing in the game. Are you trying to get your first GB10 team together? Are you trying to get your first Dragons team together? Are you trying to conquer TOA normal or hard? Are you in PvP? Let's walk through some of the fundamentals. So if you're early game, you're probably going to want a Swift rune. Okay, Swift runes are relatively hard to come by when they have the perfect substats. And generally, at least one of the runes that you make, in this particular event, we can actually make 2 legendary runes. But if you're in an event where you can only make 1, you want to make sure that the second thing you go for, the main property, is speed. Okay, so I don't need a Swift rune on this account, but the first thing you want to do is determine what kind of rune do I want. So if you're early game, you're going to go Swift, slot 2, speed. Okay. The second thing is if you're a little bit further in the game, you'll probably go either Despair or Violent runes. Okay. Despair and Violent runes are really good for TOA, and clearing TOA is really important. If you can clear TOA normal and TOA hard, even better. I find that good Violent speed runes are hard to come by as well. So again, if you're only making 1, you want to go Violent with a speed stat in slot 2. Okay, now I'm on this account and I'm actually working towards getting more Violent runes, so that'll be the first rune that I craft. But if you're even further along and you're in PvP, one of the runes that I find is absolutely hard to come by is a Speed Will rune. So if you're in PvP, if you've cleared TOA hard and normal, you're clearing dragons, you're clearing necro, and you're like just crushing the game, then you probably want to make a will rune. Okay, because will runes allow you to put immunity on your team for the first turn, which means that oftentimes you can protect, unless the other team has a stripper, you can protect that monster from being killed when they have a really good effect. So a lot of times people use this on, like, say, Verad, the water dragon, because if he's not stunned or controlled, then he can freeze the other team even if he doesn't go first. So those are kind of the 3 that you probably want to go for as a really general rule. Swift for beginner, Violent for mid game, Will for end game, and you want to go with a slot 2 speed because those are the most important, is getting speed on your teams in almost all aspects of the game, but it really depends on where you're at in the progress. So again, I'll link below in the description my progress guide that'll help you figure out where you're at in the game and kind of decide. But that's the first one. Now in this particular event, we can actually make a second rune. We can make another rune. And what I would suggest is a slot 4 rune with a percentage. Okay, so I'm actually going to do a Violent rune. And we're going to put it in slot 4. And what I would recommend is that you take no flat stat. Okay, so that kind of goes without saying, but you do not want a flat stat here. Now, I'm actually trying to get a Violent rune for Bella. So I'm going to go HP percentage because that's a really powerful rune for her to have. And I'm going to confirm that. So we've talked a little bit about what that all looks like. Now, the second part of most of these crafting events is your substats. And, you know, the substats that you want really depend on what monster you're assigning that rune to. So think about which monster you're assigning the rune to and base your substats on that. But a solid piece of advice that I was given is re-roll those stats, because you can choose to either keep the stats that you have or choose the new ones every time you roll. So you're never going to give up good stats if you have them, but you can always roll for better stats. So the piece of advice that I was given that I absolutely love is do not cash in your rune until you absolutely have to, because you could roll better stats. So in this case, this is a slot 4 rune. I don't have any speed. I would totally re-roll because I want speed on Bella, and I also want either defense or resistance on Bella, possibly even accuracy. Like my ideal roll would be speed, resistance, defense, accuracy, right? That would be my ideal roll. So I've got all the time in the world because this event is still going on for another 22 days. I might as well re-roll as many times as I can to get the absolute best substats, okay? So I don't want to make this video too long, but it was requested, so I wanted to create it. Again, super quick recap. If you're early game, you want a swift rune, mid game, a violent rune, end game, a will rune. You always want to get a slot 2 speed rune first in this. I showed you what it looks like if you're not going for a slot 2 rune. You want to go for a slot 4 percentage and then re-roll those substats until the absolute last second while you can. And that's pretty much how to choose a rune. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want this video to go on forever, but I do want to put a little disclaimer here that if you have a specific monster that you're looking for a specific rune for, you can go with that. This is just a general overview of, like, if you're going into this and you're like, what rune do I even use, or where do I even start? Then this is just going to give you some guidance on what specifically to do so that you're not wasting that rune opportunity. So I hope this video has been a massive help. If it has been, make sure to slap that like button, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment, and let me know that you enjoyed it. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do that. I drop at least 1 new video a week, sometimes a couple more. And one last thing I want to mention, if you are subscribed and you're loving this channel, check the description below, because I set up a Discord chat where we can actually hang out, have conversations, we can talk about the game, and more importantly, or I think it's more important, is you can tell me what you want to see. So I want to connect with you. I want to hear from you and hear what you're looking for on the channel. What videos can I create for you? So if you join that Discord chat, I will link it up in the description below. That will allow you to connect with me, tell me what other content you want to see, and we'll post some announcements and resources there as they release. So I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Get out there, create those runes, crush it, and until next time, keep gaming bananas.